Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Deez, this is my workshop. Today we're going to tackle a problem that's been bugging me for a while, and that is the Benchtop vise. This vise I bought new from Lowe's many years ago. It's pretty well made, a pretty hefty casting. You know, I don't use it a whole lot, but I use it enough to where I want the thing to work right. And here's the problem. There is so much slop and play in this thing. I think I need to disassemble it and find out what's going on. Hopefully we can repair this thing and get it back to good, proper working condition. But here's the problem. You can tighten this thing up. It almost feels like the lead screw or the screw slips or something. That's one issue, so I think there might be a nut or something in there that's a problem. The other thing is, once you loosen it, there's 2 or 3 turns before the thing even moves. And then there's at least a 1/4 inch play back and forth in this. This cannot be right. It should be much tighter than that. I've seen a lot of cool Wilton vices out there, some good quality stuff. It's a Kobalt. It ought to be better than this. But this is just ridiculous. And I don't think that thing should move around that much. So what we're going to do is take this thing off, get over here on the workbench and take a closer look and see if we can't figure out what's going on with it. Clearly, that can't be right. That thing should not move like that, and it shouldn't move around. So we definitely can improve this. I think rather than take this base off, which we may end up needing to do that, it is a swivel base. Let's take the swivel mechanisms off first. Loosen them up here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's take these off first and see if we can pull this top piece off before we mess with any of that. I guess before we do that, let's take a close look back here what we're dealing with. It looks like there's a cotter pin. All right, we got you in closer. You can see back in there, there's the carriage, or I don't know what that's called, but I know what it is. That's where your screw is not supposed to move, and it goes back and forth and allows you to move the movable jaw, and the screw stays in place, and that's way back in there. And then on the end, there's just a cotter pin that holds that screw on the end. Perhaps there's something missing in there, but if we move that around, it's gonna be hard to see. But that whole thing, the lead screw, all of that stuff is just moving around way too much. So let's start tearing into this thing, see if we can get it apart, take a closer look. I'll probably have to take this off anyway in order to get the swivel portions back on, but for now this is what we're after in order to see what's going on. Thing's heavy. Let's just turn it upside down. All right, so there's a bolt. I know what that is. That holds that captive nut from moving, I'm sure of it. And then we have some washers and some other washers there. So I think what we need to do, I think if we take this cotter pin out, we'll be able to slide that whole jaw out of there. So I think that's what we're going to do next, is give that a shot. we go. So there is the top jaw there, and then inside here, actually that's loose. I would have thought that would have been tight from this bolt, so that's got to be what's holding it on. Let's see if you can see what I'm talking about. See this? I don't think that should be moving around so much. That's could be the problem right there, along with some of this. Let's investigate this piece first. See what's going on here. I think the first thing we'll do is take this screw off and see what that's even holding in. Well, 3/4 is about as close as I'm going to get on that. I don't know what this holds. I mean, it might hold this, or it's supposed to have held that. Let's see. Let me get that out of there. All right. I think I might have seen the problem. So there's the nut. That looks okay. I know as an okay casting. I've got some breakage in here, but I don't remember this thing ever breaking. See if we can get a light in there. See if you can see. I know it's painted. Well, I think it's painted. I'm not sure if that would affect the functionality. Certainly there's no screw. This is not supposed to be screwed on. So you can see kind of up in there, there's definitely a casting that's broke off here on this side. See if I can point at it. Right in here. So definitely a broken casting, like a tab. There's this tab on this side, one broke there. I do see another broken casting down here. It's not painted, so either it was broke when I got it or I broke it, but I don't recall. I've owned this thing new, so I don't recall snapping anything. A lot of rough edges on this thing, but yeah, this side looks okay. This side has 2 broke castings. Not exactly sure what those are needed for. Unless this is supposed to hang up there. I think this goes along the bottom. Let's see. Let's turn this around and see. Show you the other side. So here's the bottom side. Hopefully you can see in there. It's just filthy. It's dirty. It's a flat casting. Oh, there is a wedge taper down on that end. Okay, I see what the screw's for now. You can't see if you can tilt in here and see it. So that screw, let me shove this through here. That screw, you can see the awl in there, hopefully. That screw acts as a stop for this piece. So that's what it's for. But boy, that's so sloppy in there. I'm gonna have to do something to figure that out. But I'm not sure that these tabs on the top matter. No, I take that back. That's where the movable jaw rides. I think it needs those tabs in order to keep it from moving so much. I can't fix that. I don't have anything to braze or do any of that. Let's take a look at the movable jaw and see what we can do. I'm gonna get this at least cleaned up, but I'm pretty sure this just needs to go back in there, and then that screw keeps it where it needs to be. Now, this guy, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. I don't think this should move around that much. It's so loose in here. Let's go ahead and get it off of there and just see see what we can do. Maybe we can put some more washers or spacers in there. But let's at least take a look. Let's try to do something. Bent down there. There we go. There's the 3 washers. And just some dirt, dust, debris. Well, it doesn't look worn, but there's something in there. It's a little strange. I don't think you'll be able to see that. There's some, I don't know what that is. Let's see if I can get that out of there. The nails or something. Huh. Not sure what that is. Interesting. I'm not sure what that is. I don't come out of there, but I don't know what purpose those would serve. What would that be for? Those got to be for something. Two steel. I don't know. Those can't possibly do anything. All right. I don't know. I need to do some looking, find out what we can do to improve this. It's either that or I got to get me a new vise because this one here is problematic. Well, that's the disassembly. Let's take a look at the lead screw. There's some wear here. Not much. Like I said, I didn't use it that much. It's in good shape. This is fine. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's just how it mounts inside these parts. Well, we got this thing apart. I'm going to do some cleaning up, and then we'll see how we can reassemble this thing, but make it tighter. It just needs some improvement. This isn't loose on here, I don't think. It's just loose inside the body. Yeah, that's fine. So it's not that. It's just how it all mounts together. I'm going to do some evaluation here. I'll get this thing cleaned up and we'll figure out how we can mount all this stuff back together and maybe we can eliminate some of that problem. Well, I've been thinking about what to do here. Not exactly sure how to fix this thing. I think the first thing I'm going to do is run this captive nut, whatever you call it, that goes inside the body of the fixed jaw side of the vise. Let's run it down and make sure there's no play up in here. It does look like it's a little thinner up here, but it may never reach that far. Seems like this nut probably rode in this area most of the time anyway. So let's go ahead and run that all the way down. There's a lot of there, but they didn't have space. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Well, there's some movement. Maybe I can make more different changes on the side. Like, just like you were saying, promise it does not fix all. And screw allows something backward. Why should the entire ball backwards? Maybe something inside as well. Help. Cut. So that. Slide down. All right. Take off. Maybe that's what we can focus on. Maybe I can put a bushing or something in there. Maybe it should already have that. But this is way bigger than the rod itself. I don't think it's supposed to be. To be honest, I think the nut, sorry, the washer, wherever that is. Let's see. Where's that washer? Well, anyway, there was a washer. I don't think it's one of these three, but it goes on here. These three go in the back. I think maybe that's supposed to fit in here, and that these edges keep this thing from moving. Maybe that's the idea. There's nothing on the inside. It's just spacers. Some casting material. Let me look around, see what I can come up with, and I'll bring you back. Let's do some measuring, see what we can come up with. Problem is, this shaft is about 785 thou here. But the threads, the Acme threads, are 860 thou. So even if I was to find a washer or something to go through there, and that would fit in here, it's got to be bigger than the shaft down here in order to take the slop out, because it'll still be too big up here. However, it's going to be better than what we had, which was one of these smaller ones. So I'm going to find something that we can maybe mount in the lathe here, get this down to size as close as we can to go over the threads, at least to provide a little more support. Right now we're at 680, I'm shooting for 865 or so that the lead screw will fit through there. We got the custom washer made. Like I said, the threads on this Acme thread are wider than the actual shaft, so that's the best I could do, is to get that to just slide over those. There's still a lot of play down here. There's not much I can do about that. However, this will hopefully cover some of this gap, because when this is in here, there's just so much slop. Hopefully it'll pick up some of that. Plus it'll give it something to write on. And I know it's plastic, but I think for my use, I think it's going to be fine. What we want to do is start reassembling this thing. And the first thing I'm going to do is this, put some new cotter pins in. So I want this piece in here. I wish the threads were, this just shaft wasn't thinner than the threads, but it is what it is. And then this is going to go in here. And that'll kind of give it a little bit of play. And then we have, I'll leave that there. We have our cotter pin hole. So what I'm going to try to do also is take the slop out of that by putting these washers back in that it had. Now there was 2 on the back side. Maybe I can get 3 on there. We're going to find out. I almost feel like I could get, well, I think that'll be good to take that play out. Now, instead of putting the original cotter pins in, I've got a couple new ones. I'll just end up fighting it, so let's see what we can do. So we got that cotter pin in there. Now we want to fold it over. You know, I could probably, I'm going to try to get another washer in there. Well, I found a kind of a spacer like this. It's wider than the others, but it should be fine. Let's go with that and see if we can't make that work with this cotter pin. A little wide, but maybe that'll squeeze in there. I just want to take that slack out of there. There we go. Got it. Let's fold that over. This. It's better than it was, but overall the whole design is just sloppy. Let's get this thing put back together. Well, there we go. If it's better, it's barely better. This handle's not as loose because of that washer I put up here, but this whole thing is just made very sloppy. There's some castings that are broke on the inside of this thing. Even though it's just a big old hunk of iron, you'd think that these things should last forever, but if they're not made well, which this is a Kobalt, supposed to be fairly okay, but it was made in China like everything else. And the castings are rough, it wasn't cleaned up. It's just, I don't think this is a very good high quality vise. Maybe someday I'll pick up an old Wilton or something with some quality, but I'd love to get a vise that doesn't have all this play in it. But for now, that's as best I can do with the design and the components that I have. They're cast. I can't cast any materials, so I can't fix it that way. But all in all, we took it apart, we learned a few things, and you know, it is what it is. It's a little better. At least I know what's wrong with it, and I'll think about ways to maybe fix it in the future. But for now, we got our vise back in order. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.